Bloodborne came out in 2015 and is still loved by many players years later. Some even claim it to be the greatest Souls game of all time. The only Souls game I've played is Sekiro. And after beating that game, I became a fan of the Souls genre and wanted to play some more games, so I decided to play Bloodborne to see what all the hype is about. This will be a complete blind playthrough. The only thing I know about this game is that it's hard and you can use guns. To quickly get some context on Bloodborne's lore, we play as a hunter who is suffering from an incurable illness. And in order to survive, we travel to the city of Yharnam looking for a cure. We sign a contract and get healed, but now we are stuck as a hunter of the dream. That's all I know. We begin the game customizing our character, and if I'm being honest, I had no idea what kind of build to make. I just went with the lone survivor because I thought it sounded cool. Next, we wake up and go fight this wolf, where we end up losing and teleporting to the hunter's dream, which is basically the hub area of the game. This is where we learn how to play and get to pick our weapons. I chose the hunter's axe and hunter's pistol and then made my way back to go kill the wolf. After killing the wolf, I traveled to central Yharnam where I encountered some enemies. But before I fight them, I have to explain Bloodborne's combat system. You see, in this game, we have a health bar and a stamina meter. We all know what a health bar is, so I don't have to talk about that, but the stamina meter was something new. It's what allows you to attack, run, and dodge. So it's a pretty important mechanic in the game. It's what prevents you from spamming. So in a way, you kind of have to play smart and manage your stamina wisely. You can also regain your health back by attacking an enemy. If you get hit, your health bar doesn't go down right away. You have about 5 seconds to hit any enemy to gain your health back. This feature is called the rally system, which I actually like, since you don't have to waste your heals. And to level up in this game, you need blood echoes. You can get them after killing an enemy. Having blood echoes is pretty important since you can do a lot more than leveling up. You can buy weapons, items, heals, outfits. However, if you die, you end up losing all your blood echoes. But the game gives you a second chance to get them back. The area where you were killed is where all your blood echoes drop. To retrieve them, you have to kill the enemy with glowing eyes. Once you do that, you can get all your blood echoes back. And to level up, you can talk to this doll who is located at the hunter's dream.
Welcome home, good hunter. What is it you desire?
You gonna make me act up.
Anyways, I made my way to the far end of the Great Bridge where I encountered the first boss of the game, the Cleric Beast, and this boss was pretty tough for me because I didn't know what to do. I was just shooting my gun the entire time and wasting my bullets like an idiot. I was stuck on this boss for about an hour. But like most From Software bosses, the best way to beat it is by attacking from behind. After defeating the Cleric Beast, the next boss I encountered was Father Gascione, who was way too challenging to be the second boss in the game. He's fast, aggressive, and does a lot of damage. It took me a while to learn his moves since he fights the exact same as us. He has an axe, a pistol, and can also combine his weapons. And to make it even worse, he has 3 phases. Getting to Father Gascione's 3rd phase, he reveals his true form. He turns into a furry. This boss fight was just way too difficult for me, so I just had to cheese him. After beating Father Gascione, I returned back to the hunter's dream where I run into this creepy old man.
You're welcome to use whatever you find. Even the doll, should it please you.
Next, I traveled to Old Yharnam, where I had to get past this annoying minigun enemy. And here I can fight the blood-starved beast, who was an extremely annoying boss to fight since his attacks can poison you. And if you don't have an antidote, you can die instantly. But at least this boss helped me learn how to play the game. I was getting better at parrying and dodging his attacks. But I still regret spending 5 hours fighting this boss, since he was completely optional. But in the end, he still lost. The next area of the game I reached was the Cathedral Ward, and every enemy here looks like Michael Myers. I also ran into the Amelia boss fight, who I was not prepared for. My attacks basically did no damage and I kept getting one shot. So I had to level up before I fought her again, and that's what I did. It took me 2 hours, but I managed to get to level 33. And leveling up definitely helped because now my attacks were actually doing some damage. And using a fire paper item makes this boss fight even easier because you can do even more damage and it can stun her as well. And eventually I was finally able to beat her. Next, I made my way to the Forbidden Woods, and this was probably the most annoying area in the game, because it's pretty easy to get lost and I kept running into all sorts of weird creatures. And the boss fight is even worse, since you have to fight 3 enemies at the same time. The Shadows of Yharnam probably gave me the most trouble out of all the fights I had so far. And all of them are tough to kill. One wields a katana and the other 2 have fire powers. The best thing to do is focus on the katana enemy first and take out the other 2 later. If you get them down to low health, they end up transforming and become a lot more aggressive and faster. This was easily the worst fight in the game, but eventually I was finally able to kill them. And the boss fights don't get any easier from here. After talking to this old lady who doesn't say much, I have to face Rom the vacuous spider, another annoying boss. Because this time I was getting jumped by spiders, who for some reason are able to kill you with only 2 hits. But once you get rid of the spiders and fight Rom, she can magically disappear, and then reappear on a different part of the map and summon giant ice meteors from the sky. I can see why many players hate this boss fight. But I found out that the best way to beat it was to use a flamethrower, because the fire prevents her from teleporting, making it easier to win. After killing Rom, a girl in a wedding dress appears, and soon after the sky turns red and I end up getting teleported to the unseen village, and it's probably the best looking area in the game in my opinion. Shortly after exploring, I come across the One Reborn, who looked like the most intimidating boss to fight in the game, and he's also pretty strong too. But before I can fight the One Reborn, I had to get rid of these annoying fire casting enemies, who just stand on the roof spamming attacks. After getting rid of them, I can finally fight the One Reborn, who I had a pretty hard time dealing with. I was struggling against this boss for a few hours until I decided to cheese. We've all been there before. There's always a boss we end up cheesing because we don't feel like trying. And that was the One Reborn in my case. But I will beat him fair and square in New Game Plus.
Stop the cap.
After killing the One Reborn and interacting with his mummy, I end up getting teleported to the Nightmare of Menesis and was nearing the end of the game. And here I can fight Mikolash, the host of the Nightmare. This boss wasn't that tough, he just has one move that he spams, and that's this tentacle attack. I had a harder time fighting against his puppets. The only thing difficult about his first phase was chasing him around when he kept running. However, his second phase was a lot more challenging, since all he does is spam this Ki Blast move, which is a one-shot, and you can't really dodge it either. So the only way to beat Mikolash was to cheese his second phase, by forcing him to walk up to the cage. That way he won't really be able to hit you, but you can hit him. After defeating Mikolash, I run into the woman in the wedding dress again, and after going up this elevator, I encounter Murgo the wet nurse, who was a pretty fun boss to fight in my opinion. The strategy for this boss is to not lock onto her, and then to try to get behind her and attack. But you have to be careful and not get too close, since she will slice you into pieces. She doesn't really have a second phase but can sometimes summon a clone of herself. But you can cancel that out by dashing either left or right twice. After defeating Murgo, I'll go back to the Hunter's Dream to see that the whole place is set on fire. And the gate that's always been closed was open. And here I can find the creepy old man from the beginning of the game. And he offers me two choices. You can either submit your life or refuse. I ended up refusing and the old man didn't like my decision. And it turns out he was the final boss of the game.
It always comes down to the hunter's helper to clean up after these sorts of messes. Tonight, Gammon joins the hunt.
This final battle was pretty difficult. His speed caught me off guard and it took me a while to learn his attack pattern. But parrying him while he tries to use his scythe to attack is the easiest way to get in some damage. In the second phase, Gehrman can also use a gun and becomes a lot more aggressive. But his third phase is by far the most difficult, since he has many attacks that can one-shot you. This boss took me around 5 hours to beat, but it was still one of my favorite boss fights in the game. Once I defeated Gehrman, a weird alien-looking creature appears, who is supposed to be the Moon Presence, the mastermind behind the Hunter's Dream. And since we defeated Gehrman, who was the keeper of this dream, we are now forced to take his place. So in the end, we become the creepy old man sitting in a wheelchair.
And so, the hunt begins again.